we're going to go ahead and get started. So, yep.
First off, I just wanted to say, introduce myself. My name is Ryan Lynch. I'm the newly elected county clerk. I really appreciate you all volunteering to work. It's important that we have really good people working the polls because that's the gateway to our election. So we really appreciate you coming out for the training, and hopefully you guys learn some good stuff today. So Angela's going to run it, and she's going to do a great job. So thanks again.
So we're going to pull out the paperwork for I know it says Republican inspectors and Democrat judges, but the Republican judge will be more focused on this other duty list. So if we'll start through here. Some of it we will skip over because it does just pertain to the inspectors. So the first page is for the inspectors. You should receive a call from your inspectors. They'll pick up their supplies on Saturday the 29th. So they'll have that list, so they should be reaching out to everybody to get set up, especially for the Democrat judge. You will be setting up Monday night with them. Let's see. So the Democrat judge sets up. You'll go in, put the DS200 in its place. You will not plug it in, but get it to where it's near a outlet with the inspector. Put the poll pads on the tables where they need to be, and they need to be by an outlet also. And you won't turn those on or take them out of the poll pad kits. There'll be a signage kit that the inspectors will receive, and you can hang those up Monday night if you have time. You can also hang them up Tuesday morning. It's just up to the inspector and you what you want to do. The signage kit will have like the Bill of Rights in it, a precinct map, a sample ballot, and some other items. Then once that's all set up, the inspector should reach out to Chrissy here, and her phone number is on the duty list. So just kind of help the inspector remember that part. And before leaving, just make sure the location is secure. On election day, everybody will need to be there at 5 a.m. The inspectors will have to swear in the judges and the clerks, and then the Democrat judge will swear in the inspector on the oath book, and you'll have to sign those. The judge or the inspector can announce that the opening of the polls at 6 a.m. and you'll want to help remember to mark. There's a list in the oath book on how many voters were there at 6 a.m. Oh, and at 12 and at 6 p.m. So if we can kind of remember that, they just want to count. It's just to see how busy it is. If you have 0, you just put 0, and so whatever the count is. On the ballot care, some locations will have a separate table for the poll pads and the ballots. As you came in, you were given a list that was highlighted with your precinct location. Some of you were fortunate enough to have where you just have one precinct, so it's not a big worry during that time. But if you're at a location that has different precincts and different districts, we need to make sure that it's set up right so the they are getting the correct ballot. And it'll say on the top of the ballot whether it's Democrat or Republican. The Republican actually has a red stripe. The Democrat actually has a blue stripe on it to help get that easy to take care of. And then at the top it'll say Jeff won, and I don't think they have a split. But like I know Jeff 13, there is a split, so it'll say Jeffersonville 13 and district and the number, whatever district number they are. We talked with the clerks yesterday. We had their training, but just kind of if you see them, they need to initial the back of the ballots, and it'll be one Democrat and one Republican, but they've been emphasized that, but that's just something you can kind of watch for. The poll pad receipts, they will be getting a baggie in the poll pad box that says this is where the receipts go. So if you have just one table, it'll stay there. If you have a poll pad table and a ballot table, the baggie will go at the ballot table because that's where they'll be collecting them. So we're trying to get that together. Setting up the locations. So once again, the Democrat judge must be there on Monday night to set up the day before the election. If you're not able to, reach out to the inspector and then they can reach out to us and we can see what we can do to help with that. But that is something you need to be able to be present for because you are getting extra pay for that. Um, Keep the polling locations organized. It makes it easier for the voters. Um, the check-in table needs to be the first thing that they see when they walk in. So then, once again, with the ballots being separated, you may have two tables. So just kind of keep that in mind and make sure the tripping hazards are kept to a minimal. And then next is the close of polls at 6 p.m. You'll loudly announce the closing of the polls. If there are voters in the line at 6 p.m., a judge or someone will need to go stand at the back of that line to know that nobody comes up after 6 p.m. But all those voters that were in line at 6 p.m., they do get to vote. So that's why we put whoever at the back of the line. The Democrat judge will be helping with the paperwork and signing paperwork. There will be some stuff that everybody has to sign that the inspectors will give you to sign. So try to keep up with that as the day goes on. The inspector and the Democrat judge will do the close of the polls step on the DS 200. The inspector mostly, the judge is there just as the bipartisan and to help if they need some help. There is a memory stick, which we'll get a picture of it here soon, that must be brought back to the courthouse for the totals to be entered. It seems like the past couple elections, we've had to send people back. So I want the Democrat judge to realize there is a USB stick in there that has to come back, or you'll be having to go back to the polling location and come back to the courthouse together. So just to keep that up, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, about a black bag that it goes in and it's secured. You'll remove the voted ballots from the bottom of the DS 200 bin and place them in a black bag. It looks like a satchel bag that the inspectors will have. You'll stack them neatly in there. Please don't try to just pull them out and have them every which way. We do have to take those out, and it's very, very time consuming to try to pull them out when they're just looks like they exploded in the bag. And we do appreciate the ones that have been stacking them because it made our job a lot easier trying to get ready for the next election. So the voted ballots will be in that black bag. It will be tagged and secured for be brought back to the courthouse. But the ballots that wasn't voted go back in the bottom of the DS 200. So then you're not carrying extra weight back to the courthouse. They can be secured, locked up in the bottom of that DS 200. You'll remove all the signage. We ask that the clerks stay and both judges stay until everything is cleaned up and the inspector dismisses the Republican judges and the clerks. Because some tables may need to be taken down or chairs put away and such like that. So we do ask that you stay until they dismiss you. And then let's see. Returning to the materials and drop off. There will be a blue supply bag that the inspector is given, so it'll come back, a document folder. That's something that the inspector will be responsible for, but it'll come back. It does not go in your black bag. The only thing that goes in that black tote bag is voted ballots. If anything else is put in there, we have to get a bipartisan team to come in, open that bag, pull out the documents folder or whatever is needed out of there, seal it back up. So it's not an easy process for us to get that bag or that paperwork out. Poll pad cases. Poll pads will have to come back with the Democrat judge and the inspector also. So make sure you bring the poll pads back. And they have cases and they are big. And some locations have one. Some locations can have 2 and 3 poll pads. So it just depends. But they do need to come back. We've had people have to go back and get those also at the end of the night. The drop off for the Democrat judge is at the back of the Judicial Center, which is the courthouse. We do it at the Sallyport, so it's on the corner of Meg's and 7th Street. That's where we've had it the last couple of elections if you've done it before. So you just need to follow each other. You do not have to ride in the car together because we get some people are going separate ways and come from a different area, but you do need to be following each other. So you'll be back to back when in line also to make it easy for us to get signatures because there is paperwork that has to be signed by the Democrat judge and the inspector. Um, then we move on to the poll pads. That's for the clerks have been instructed on how to set those up and having the instructions. And for some reason, if the clerks don't show up, there is instructions in the poll pad that will tell you how to set it up and such. And then the auto marks. The auto marks are for the ADA. So if someone needs help assisting to mark the ballot or to read the ballot, that's what the auto marks are for. So they must be set up. And I didn't say the auto marks at the beginning, but they will need to be arranged that night next to a plug also on Monday night. And then the next page is the DS200 machine. That's where the ballots go, and they drop down there in the bottom. And the picture on the side here, that is the memory stick. That is what has to come back to the courthouse. Yes. No, you're fine. Uh huh. It's for to help people. They can for the disability. It's ADA. It's an ADA machine. So they stick their ballot in there, helps them mark it, or it will help them if they need it bolder print. It'll help them read it, and that's what the auto mark is used for. Or they have headphones to hear. Yep. You're welcome. Um. So then we'll go on to the next page here, and the poll booths. That's something that has to be set up on Monday night and taken down Tuesday night. Those will stay at the voting locations with the DS200s. So you won't be dragging those back. You can leave those there. They'll be picked up. They'll be dropped off there and they'll be picked up there. In the signage kit, like I said before, is the Bill of Rights. There's no electioneering signs, handicap signs, precinct maps, sample ballots, important notice to voters, precinct signs with the hours, and precinct signs with the precinct number. And then we'll skip over the document folder and the envelopes. That's for the inspectors. And then we get to the provisional ballots. If you have a voter that's not on the poll pad or they're at the wrong polling location and they're demanding that they vote there, you need to call the office before you vote any provisional ballot so we can walk you through the steps. And there'll be provisional ballots provided in the document folder to the inspectors. So that's where those ballots will come from. But the inspector can call, they can help them, and the inspector calls before any provisional ballots are voted so we can walk you through because we get these provisional ballots no matter we've highlighted them and they still do not come back completed. If they come back and they're not completed, they're automatically not being able to be voted. Even if the person really did live there and they did bring their ID in, if this is not completely filled out, it's not a challenge vote, so it won't count. And then we go to the black pouches. That's what the Democrat judge and the inspector will be bringing back, and you secure it with a green tag that's in the supply box. And once again, it'll have the receipt tape in there. Let's see. The name tags, that's in the morning, they will be in there, but the security tags, machine keys, and the seals for the envelopes. At the end of the night, you will want to have the keys to the DS200 and the AutoMark keys in there, the memory stick, and the results tapes. Because even if we don't have the result tapes, you have to go back there and get that too. So make sure you have the result tape. The supply boxes, they're just a little bitty rubber like plastic tote with a lid that we give to the inspector. They have the I voted stickers on there. Trust me, that's the most important thing that we put in there is the I voted stickers because that's what everybody wants. And I know a lot of people called last time saying they didn't have I voted stickers. Well, unfortunately, we learned we put them in the bottom because that was the very first thing that went in there and it got covered up. But trust me, we make sure everybody gets I voted stickers. Then you'll have pins, red and black, paper clips, rubber bands, a magnifying sheet if somebody wants a magnifier to be able to read the ballot, They're provided, and it's usually just a little square. We've had to cut them up because they're not really cheap, and sometimes we get them back and sometimes we don't. There'll be blank paper in there, some tape for hanging the signage, letter opener, extra poll pad tape, and excuse slips if anybody needs that for if they're the voters. Sometimes will ask. I don't know if anybody has ever had that asked, but they're in there in case somebody does. If they, I know in some states they get paid if they go vote. I know it's not in Indiana, but some Amazon pays their employees to vote, so that could be given to the Amazon voter, because I do know they pay or send them to the courthouse sometime to get to vote. Um, the election reference guide that is given to the inspectors, but it has checklists and duties in there. It has a DS 200 and auto mark guide. It has POPAD guide in there, emergency procedures, ID requirements, and the forms. If they need like a VR 412, that's if their address has changed from what it is on the POPAD. You can give them that to complete so we can get that updated after the election. If they're not registered and they happen to come in, you can give them a voter registration application. There's affidavits for assistance in there, but that's given to the inspector, and you can ask to see it. I mean, it's not, you know, if you want to see what's in there, if you need a guide or something, that's something that you can look at if needed. And then next, oh, my voter forms that I was trying to guess at. So the voter's assistance, and then you have a pre-5, which is used for when the voter shows up and they didn't receive their absentee ballot. So they can sign that saying that they haven't voted and they haven't mailed it back in, and they can vote at the polls that day. Pre-8 is if an appointment of a replacement precinct election officer. So if one of your clerks or judges don't show up, you fill out that form to tell me who the new person was if that happens. And then the voter registration application, and then the update their address at the time of ballot. And then precinct incident and accident reports if those are needed at the polling location. And then next we have what not to do. I've asked for the past couple trainings that we do not pre-fill in the seals. And I know that's an inspector thing, but as judges, you can kind of say that, hey, these all come back. We have to throw these away. They're not any good. They don't do us any good. They're not the cheapest things to get made and get printed out. We do try to send in some extras in case something happens. So signing them all will not do you any good. You'll probably at the most use 2, but if you have provisionals, you will use another one or so. But we don't need all of them signed. So just kind of be aware of how many they do need to sign, because signing them will not do anybody any good. And also do not have them sign all the ballots. We're pretty slow at the courthouse being voted 2019. At this time we had, what I say, 400, over 400, almost 450, I guess, ballots already back to count. We're almost to 200 this time, at the same time that we was in 2019. So it's kind of a low turnout. So signing a whole pack of ballots isn't going to probably do anybody any good. Unless you're really busy, then get a jump start. But it's not, we'll see how they are standing there. Use your materials. We give you the materials here. Take those with you so you can reference back to them. If you forget them, that's okay, but it's just to help you out. This book here is a good guide too to use. If you have any, if the voters have any questions, if you flip through there, usually has the answers. We won't go over that, but that's something you'll have handy for you. And on the back of here is our phone numbers. You have the county election board's numbers. Brian Lynch obviously is our clerk. Andrew Steele is the Democrat county election board. Mark Grube is the Republican county election board. And then for the voter registration office, myself, I'm Angela Cornett. Then I have Chrissy and Jim there in the back. So you'll have our faces and our numbers there. Does anybody have any questions before I pull off to the duties list? Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, the early voting right now is going on at the courthouse 9 to 4, like now through Saturday, and next week Monday through Saturday. So it's both Saturdays. You have 2 Saturdays. Yep. And you will want to, I'm glad you asked that question. You will want to vote early unless you're actually working at your polling location that you vote at. I know some people work at different polling locations than they vote at, so you will need to vote early to vote. Yes, at the courthouse. Yes. So we start with the Democrat judge on Monday night setup here on the checklist. Sorry. Um, it's going to be repetitive of what was through the slideshow, but we're really just trying to make it stick, I guess. Need to check the ballots inside the DS200. So that's for the locations that have the different districts. Make sure you have them. Some locations will have 6 different ballots or 8 different ballots. So it could get kind of a whole lot of ballots going on. Next, post the signage, locate the voter chute in an area on a pathway that extends 50 feet in length. So make sure that that's walked off. You can just count 50 feet. Set up the poll booths. Move the DS200 and the auto mark machine and the poll pads for the positions next to outlets. There will be an extension cord and a power strip sent out with the inspectors. And that too, when sending that back, you don't have to drag that back. You can stick it in the bottom of the DS200, the extension cord and the power strip, because they can get kind of heavy when you're trying to haul back the ballots. And once again, after setting up the location, just remind the inspector to call Chrissy so she can check them off and that we know it has been set up, because setting up on Monday night is very important, because if you show up Tuesday morning to set up that polling location and you don't have the right ballots, it becomes our problem when you should have set up on Monday, so we'd have that night to at least try to get you the right items. And then when we don't know that we used to send them out and not have them call in, thinking that they were all setting up on Monday, and then Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. we're getting calls of, hey, our ballots aren't in there, which we've changed some procedures on our end to make sure that that gets checked. But just to make sure that we're all human and stuff happens. Then on election day, the inspector and the Democrat judge will follow the poll worker guide for the startup instruction, and that's located in the inspector binder. And then set up the auto mark. And the auto mark, you pretty much just have to plug up, and there's a key to turn it on. It's super simple. It's not, and the instructions for that are in the inspector binders also. On the next page, we have, hold on. Sorry. Back to the front page. On election day, I skipped over all workers, which that includes the Republican judge. Once again, you have to show up at 5 a.m. Make sure you get there on time so everything get completed and be ready to open at 6. So then we move on to the judges are required to count the number of people waiting in line at 6, noon, and 6 p.m. and record those. We'll have all the workers. You need to greet the voters, welcome them into the polling locations if you're standing there, have them feel like they're entering your house. Work together. Yeah, and then everybody needs to work together, make sure the poll booths are set up and black pens are in there. Trying to think, will they have, and just make sure the pins stay in the booths throughout the day, because a lot of people walk off with them, and keep on making sure that they have pins so they're able to vote, not having to yell for anybody once they get into the polling booth. If you need more polling booths, some places will use tables, and that's fine. But if you need more polling booths, call the office. We get you some out. I think they take anywhere from 4 to 6 out to the locations. Let's see. Democrat judge, if a voter makes an error and requests a new ballot, guide the voter to the inspector. The ballot will be spoiled, and the clerks will issue a new ballot along with the inspector. Place the spoiled ballot into the spoiled ballot's envelope. And then to the next. No, because the inspector's Republican and the Democrat judges, the bipartisan team there. So then we get to the close of the pose. Once again, just stay. Oh, to stay, have someone stand at the back of the line at 6 o'clock to make sure that they get to be voted and nobody comes up after 6 o'clock. Let's see. And then once again, shut down the polling location, take down the polling booths, the DS200, pack up the auto mark, the poll pads. And the clerk should be packing up the poll pads, but if they need assistance, help them do that. And then let's see, we'll move on. Democrat judge will help with the inspector to close down the DS200 to print the tapes. And once again, the memory stick and the tape goes in the black pouch, and the black pouch is secured, and it's brought back to the courthouse. And then you take out all the signs. And on the signs, when you're taking those down, if you take the tape and just fold it back on there as best as you can, we do try to use the same signs from year to year if possible. Sometimes they come back and they look like they've been chewed up. So if we can just, and all you gotta do, I know the tape don't come off of them, but if you just fold it back, it makes it nice, and then we just put tape back over it the next year, and it works out. So if that's possible, I understand some signs will get tore if it rains. Some of them get wet somehow. So that's understandable, but if we can, let's just try to reuse them. And then once again, voted ballots in the black bag, that's all that goes in the black bag. Unvoted ballots in the bottom of the DS200. At the end of the night, the Democrat judge and inspector, if you're going to be past 6:30 for some reason, leaving your polling location, we ask that you call the voter registration office, the numbers provided there, so that we know that you're running late. Otherwise, we will start trying to reach out to you, and then once again, sometimes the phones aren't working, but you can call us, and then at least we'll know where we stand, because of course everybody's wanting those totals and wants to know what's going on. Let's see. That's back once again. Our phone numbers are listed here. Also, I didn't talk about dress appropriately, whether you're cold natured, hot natured. Just make sure if you're cold natured, bring a jacket, because you never know what the building is, whether it's going to be hot or cold. Bring your lunches, drinks, snacks, medicine. You will not be able to leave the polling location once you enter. You are there. If someone wants to bring you lunch in to drop it off, that's fine, or order delivery, that's fine. But you can't have people come in and have lunch with you. Like this, that's not part of what happens on election day. If you're a smoker, good luck on that, because you're not able to go outside and smoke. Trying to think that's about everything. But just try to work with everybody and show everybody respect. Everybody's doing, there to. It's a long day, but just have respect. Yes. No, you're fine. Uh huh. Is that what they changed? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a light or floors they changed. I knew there was something. Cell phones. Oh wow. Oh wow. So yeah, so they have new lights, so hopefully that works. Good point. Does anybody else have any questions? Any comments? Okay. Hmm? Yes. No, you're fine. Yes. You can get those can be passed out at the polling locations. Party. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. After. Yeah. Mhm. Some of them. They should have credentials on them. Yeah, but some of them won't. I mean, it's because usually they try to pass out those credentials, but on that night, most of those people are just picking them up, and it might be, well, hey, I'm right there. I'll get that for you too, type thing. So yeah. So any other questions or anything? I hope this training was better than before. I hope it was focused. I know it was a lot, but we're trying a little different. Mm-hmm. No, you're
Something
fine.
that she touched on was as far as dressing appropriately for the temperature. Also, dress appropriately because we are running the election
Yeah.
for the county.
Yeah.
You know, be cautious. There's a lot of different types of people that come in. You know, obviously don't wear anything that's vulgar, or if you see any other poll workers that have, you know, anything vulgar or anything that's politically oriented, you can't have anything that supports either party, either any candidates like that that's going on. Uh, it's mostly just common sense.
Yeah.
We're in a professional environment. We want to give off the best kind of vibes that we can and also something that I've seen in the past, and it's not to pick on a certain age group, but and I've seen younger poll workers, mostly clerks, who come in with like blankets and blankets and blankets and even pillows sometimes. We can't have that. And if they don't want to listen, call us because we don't want that.
Yeah, we can send the election board out.
We don't want anybody sleeping at the desk when people are trying to come in and vote. You had a question?
Yes. Right, blowing right on you. Yeah.
Sure, and that's understandable. We just don't want people with blankets that
Pajama
lounging
pants.
and pajamas.
Or the kid.
We had people complaining about at polls, not whenever I was in office.
Yeah.
About people literally with pajamas on,
Yeah.
and that's not professional.
Yeah.
So we would appreciate you guys to be cautious.
Mhm.
So,
All right.
any other questions or concerns or comments or anything?
What do you mean? Are- So, are you a Democrat judge or a Republican judge? Democrat judge. In the inspector book is the setup procedures for the DS hunters. It's pretty much you turn on push a power button and it turns on. There's not much step by step for it. I mean, the step by steps in there to show you, but that's not something we really, yeah. Tuesday. Mhm. Huh?
Yeah, Monday night is the first.
Yes.
Yeah, for the
Mhm.
Democrat judges.
Yes. And like the clerks are being trained on how to set up the poll pads. That's the clerks are being trained on how to set up the poll pads because that's something that they will be working with. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what a lot of times with the judges and the clerks, a bathroom break, or to take someone to the bathroom, not take them to the bathroom, but someone go to the bathroom, or to eat, grab a bite to eat away from the poll pad. The clerks and judges, yeah, will help each other out. I should have mentioned. That's a good question. Thank you. Yep. So if that nobody has any more questions, we're good.
We are really hoping that this
We're
is
hoping.
our methods.
We're like, this is our second one. We had clerks last night, the judges tonight, and we are really enjoying this.
And I'm recording it, so if you guys forget anything or whatnot, we will be putting this session online. So if you guys need a refresher or anything as we get closer to the election.
Or if you think of questions before the election, you can call the numbers. I mean, even if it's before election, you think of something when you get home and you're like, oh yeah, what about this? Call us before. Yeah. I think you done pretty good. You're not on my. You're not in my brain of being. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Guess so. Ooh.
So if there's no other comments or anything, yeah. At the last election in Gordon, we had an older gentleman come in, had on, might have been a mega hat, and they asked him to remove his hat. He threw a big fit and just left, sort of got everybody thinking that we were refusing to let him vote. He didn't want to take his hat off.
Right. And I don't know, but
Don't
the
know.
MAGA is something like politically. Yeah, it's not saying
It's
vote
more of a
for.
clickbait thing.
Yeah.
I was just trying to bring that up because
Yeah.
what all we had gone through there, trying to figure out what would be considered,
Right.
what was considered political for a certain person.
Yeah. Right.
It's mostly about candidates.
Vote for, elect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elect.
We ended up tracking the guy down after finding out he'd come back and leave his hat on.
Right. But that's not something you can usually do. Board and small, everybody knows everybody. But yeah, that's not idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Mhm. So yeah, that's not. Yeah.
And like you said, if you have any questions, anything comes up that pops in your head between now and the election or on election day, you have all of our contact information. Please feel free to reach out. Happy to help any way. Yeah.
Some of them have changed this time. That's the poll. I mean, each party gets their own poll workers and puts them where they're needed. So it's not a guarantee it'll be the same people. Yeah.
Yeah. If you, I think before, whenever I used to work, if you, when the inspector calls you, they call you on the weekend.
Probably.
Call you the weekend before the election. Um, they'll have a list of who's working.
Yeah, the inspector will.
I mean, you can just they should be able to tell you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate everybody coming out and
Mhm.
yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.